Hey guys, what's going on? It's Lando from the Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host today. Let me know if you have any issues with the stream, with the audio. I'm going to get to all of the questions today. I've got producer Scott in my ear. We are ready to rock, answering all of your stuff. I know I've got some listeners that have some tough questions for me. We've got some big news about Drew Brees coming back. We have some big news about Michael Thomas being out. I'll go over some of the starts or some of the news and notes. We did not do a podcast this morning because we are live for the holiday season. Let us know. Drop it in the comments. If you're still looking for a podcast, maybe we can make that work for you for tonight. But I probably got Mac is in the chat too. We've got all the guys ready to rock, helping you out. It's the holiday season. Hope everyone's having a good holiday. Make sure to get your start sit questions in. We are trying to get to 1,000 subs. If you're watching this and you're not a subscriber to the channel, consider liking the video, subscribing to our channel. We're trying to grind 1,000 subs. It's week 15. It's the semifinals. People care more now than they ever have. So hopefully we get a good response today. But it's Saturday morning. You never know. We started it as the Saturday morning snap. But I'll get to some news and notes before we get some questions in. Like I mentioned, Drew Brees is in. Michael Thomas is out. We've got Salvin Ahmed, questionable for the game against New England. That'll be interesting to see if he's active. Daniel Jones is officially questionable as well on Sunday against the Browns. And so is Evan Engram. So you may have been relying on Evan Engram, so you might need to look at replacements there. Guys I like is Irv Smith Jr. I also like Jared Cook if he's available. Cole Kmet saw a lot of targets this past week. Should be those are guys I would pivot to if it turns out that Evan Engram is out. Some more news and notes, guys. We have Hooper and Njoku both questionable for the games Sunday night. Antonio Gibson is doubtful. I didn't expect him. And Alex Smith is ruled out. So start your Seattle Seahawks defense because Dwayne Haskins is in at quarterback. It should be an interesting game there. If you were playing the Washington defense, I think that's not as good of a play because the Washington football team will probably not have the ball as often. The possession time won't be as much. I suppose that could be good for the defense, able to sack Russell Wilson more potentially, intercept Russell Wilson more, but he's one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the league. They could just run the ball out and just hold the ball most of the time, and that will lead to more scores, more touchdowns. Some bad news about Kenny Golladay. He really wants to come back, but Bevel said that they're probably going to have a conversation that will lock him down and he'll be out for the rest of the season. We've mentioned this before in our podcast that it's unlikely that he'll be actually return to the season. He's got nothing to play for. He's in a contract year. If he plays and something happens injury-wise, it will not be good for his career. He's still going to get paid in the offseason despite the fact of being limited for most of the season. Julio Jones is out for Sunday's game versus the Bucs. Bucs defense is super good. You could start Russell Gage in a desperate play, but I'm not loving it. Calvin Ridley, I think, is a great start. He'll be targeted a ton, but this downgrades Matt Ryan. This downgrades pretty much everyone in the offense. You're playing Calvin Ridley, but that's about it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to check the chat. We've got some guys going in. JML Smarts, what's going on? Noah Rutledge, what's going on? I've been seeing you on our socials, getting in there. Appreciate all the comments, all the likes, and all the videos. You guys are the true OGs and the real ones watching our video on a beautiful Saturday morning. So Noah's asking about Devonta Freeman, and I want Scotty to get in the chat and kind of give Noah his perspective on Devonta Freeman as well, because a lot of people are relying on Wayne Gallman. Do we think that Devonta is going to get a downgrade for Gallman I'm updating my rankings all week. Check out my rankings videos. They've done actually really well. We did a quarterback, running back, and wide receiver ranking video for week 15 of the fantasy playoffs. So Noah, looking at Gallman, I still have Gallman as a top 20 running back this week. I know you might be in a tough spot here with Gallman, and you want just kind of a confidence level on Gallman this week. So I do still have him as a running back 2 this week. I think he will still get most of the volume. But if you have some better options, I mean, like Melvin Gordon tonight might be a better option than Gallman. Clyde Edwards-Helaire might now be a better option than Gallman. I would start Gallman over J.D. McKissick. I would start Gallman over James Conner against Cincy. I've got Conner buried in my rankings. I would look at starting Gallman over David Johnson this week. Guys, I would start ahead of Gallman as well. I would start Swift and Kareem Hunt over Gallman. I would go with Chris Carson, Kenyon Drake, J.K. Dobbins, Miles Sanders. I would start all those guys over Wayne Gallman this week. But I know because of the injuries and all that stuff, you might be in a tough spot. But I still think he will get the volume. Devonta Freeman wasn't, like Scotty mentioned, he wasn't good when he was healthy. He wasn't good when he was signed. Now the Giants have been winning football games and playing Gallman like crazy. So I don't see them giving Gallman a significant downgrade in his snaps. I'm going to take a quick look here before we get to more questions on the snap share that Wayne Gallman has been getting. Say he got a 55% snap share. So it's not crazy. They've been mixing in other guys. I still am expecting a 55 to 60% snap share for Gallman. No problem. That's kind of what we expect. We know Gallman isn't a full workhorse running back. So, see, I wouldn't play Rashad Higgins over Gallman. That's pretty much it. I would not go with Higgins. I know Higgins has been good lately, but he's not a guy that I have full confidence in. Running backs generally are going to be safer than wide receivers. Higgins has upside, of course. He's got touchdown upside, but and he's got yards upside too, I get it, but I think a running back's going to be safer generally. Thanks for everyone coming in. I've got Mike K in the chat. Thanks, Mike, for coming by. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. I've got Tony in the chat. What's going on? JML Sports. You guys are all here. Thanks so much. I'm going to get to Mike's question here. Do I flex Amari Cooper or Leonard Fournette? Mike, is that a half PPR or full PPR? What's the format of this option? Leonard Fournette is now, I guess, by default, the lead running back for Tampa Bay in a plus matchup with a banged up, it's the Atlanta team, right? Atlanta defense. I'm not super excited about Leonard Fournette. He was a healthy scratch last week. I know you probably just picked up Fournette off the waiver wire just as a hope and a dream, and now that you got the news about Rojo being out, I still don't have a ton of confidence in Leonard Fournette. I get that he could be back to the running back that he was in Jacksonville. That's what you're hoping on. You're hoping he's still explosive. He's not Fat Lenny anymore, right? But let me see. I'm going to go back to the chat to see if he mentioned if it's a half PPR league. It's a full PPR. If you need a miracle to win, I do think it's Amari Cooper. I know Dalton hasn't been the most electric quarterback out there, but because he probably, like Mike may have played against Waller. He might have played against Jacobs. And it could be, or Hunter Henry, or Justin Herbert. And you might be in a really tough spot, Mike. So I still think that Amari Cooper is the upside play. Now, is it in the realm of possibilities that Fournette gets 2 or 3 touchdowns? I guess so, but I'm not putting that. The likelihood of that happening, Mike, is going to be very slim, very slim. Less than 1% chance of that happening. I don't view Leonard Fournette as a pure upside play. I still believe that Amari Cooper is. We've got Lucius in the chat. We've got Jason in the chat. Thanks for coming by, guys. It's 11:05. I'm going to be here as long as I need to be answering all your start set questions. We are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're trying to get monetized on YouTube. If you really like our content, if you're coming by, get into our DMs and appreciate us, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're doing a listener league this year. If you're watching this and you're like, hey, this guy Lando, I can beat him at fantasy football, subscribe to the channel. We'll be doing a draw. So if you want to play against us and you want more entries, more chances to play against us, refer some friends. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to build our community. We're trying to engage everyone. So if you have friends that might be interested in fantasy football and that would like our show, refer them to the channel. Tell us who you sent, and you will get extra spots to play in our listener league. Also, you could leave a review on Apple Podcasts. That's big for us. We will get that's basically like sending money our way if you give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Neil's in the chat. Thanks for coming by, Neil. He's got a really tough question. Eric's in here. Thanks, guys. I'll get to. I need to get back up to the top here to answer JML Sports for my flex. He's got Fournette, Deontay, or Landry. Half PPR JML Sports. He's in here all the time. Appreciate you, JML. It's for me, like I mentioned about Fournette, it's between Deontay and Landry in a half PPR league. Now, I still believe in Deontay Johnson and the talent. He cost me a quarterfinals matchup last week. Because he was benched and only put up 6 points, I had the win on my bench. I had Ayuk, I had Akers, I had tons of options, but I played Deontay Johnson. He got benched for drops. So if that is in the realm of possibility again, that he gets benched for dropping the football, then I would go Landry, JML. But I still think if you're going for pure talent and offense, Pittsburgh versus Cincinnati, you go with Deontay Johnson. That's a really good question. It's a tough spot. I would stay away from Fournette, like I mentioned earlier. I don't perceive the upside there. So in a half PPR league, I lean Landry for safety. I go with Deontay for upside. Tony's asking, PPR 3 flex. Who do I start? He's got Landry, Chark, AB. I assume that's DJ Moore, Dobbins, Wilson, Gus Bus. Tony, holy man. So I'm gonna lock in Dobbins, number 1. Dobbins is in an awesome spot. It's a great matchup against Jacksonville. Lock Dobbins in that option. Jeff Wilson, we're still not sure if Raheem Mostert is active for this game. He's questionable going into it. I still think Tevin Coleman's going to be in there. I still think that Jerick McKinnon will be involved a little bit. Jeff Wilson has the best touchdown upside. I guess same as Gus Bus. Also gets those like red zone targets or touches. So if it was me here, I would go with Landry, Dobbins, and DJ Moore for my 3 flex options. I'd love to recommend Chark, but it's a tough matchup against Baltimore. Antonio Brown, he's getting targets, but Godwin should be better after getting those pins out of his hand, and Mike Evans is still an elite deep threat or red zone threat for Tampa Bay. So that's where I'd go with Tony. Good luck this week. Let's see. Noah, you are very welcome. Lucius, thanks for coming by, Lucius. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Like I mentioned, 1,000 subs. It's a tough task, but you guys are here to help out. Pick 2 wide receivers: Metcalf, Hilton, Godwin, Thielen. Can't flex. Really worried about hard matchup this weekend, and my playoff matchup is razor close. Can't have any misses. Thanks in advance. Hey man, I get misses all the time. You know, I like I mentioned, I had a miss last weekend starting Deontay Johnson. I would be in the semifinals looking for a championship matchup against a very tough opponent, but I think you have to start DK Metcalf. He's a top 2 wide receiver for me this week, even in a tough matchup against Washington. I get it, but you got to go with the high upside of Metcalf. Now, Hilton has been on a heater. He almost got my producer Scott in the playoffs. It's too bad that Scott had to play against an elite fantasy analyst in the quarterfinals, or else he would be in. However, between Godwin and Thielen, I'm still going to lean I'm not going to lean Chris Godwin. I'm going to lean Adam Thielen. I think Adam Thielen against Chicago is in a good spot. I think he scores touchdowns. I know Jefferson has been that high upside play. It's tough there. You have some really good options. I have a good feeling about Godwin this week as a bounce back, but he hasn't been good. And neither has Thielen. So I guess really T.Y. Hilton against Houston is in the best spot. Man, oh man, Lucius, that's a really tough one because I get the question because you have to sometimes you just have to stay in the flames and go like, wow, I'm really sitting Godwin and Thielen for a guy you probably picked up off the waiver wire 3 weeks ago. But that's the world we're living in now. 2020 is a weird one. Metcalf and Hilton might be the play, but my rankings say that it's going to be Metcalf and Thielen. So at the end of the day, you got to go with your gut. This is like everyone. This is a must win. Its rates are close for everyone. If Thielen gets 2 touchdowns, you might regret it. But Hilton, we've seen him. He's almost like a 20-point floor right now. So it's crazy. Thanks for coming in, guys. We got 10 people watching, only 9 likes. Make sure to like the video. I'm going to get to your question. No problem. We're going for 1,000 subscribers. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Helps if you ring that little bell so you know when we go live. Jason, start 2, flex 1. He's got T.Y. Hilton, Mike Evans, Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson, Cole Beasley, and Devontae Parker. Also, Gus Edwards over Gallman. And Jason, you've got some really tough options here. I would go Gallman over Gus Edwards. I talked about Gallman earlier on to my boy Noah. So thanks for coming by. We got 12 more people. Subscribe to the channel, like it. I'm getting your question, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is playoff football. It's the best time of the year. It's the holiday season. We love it, guys. Thanks for coming in. Jason, though, you've got a lot of really good wide receivers here. That makes it really tough. Like I mentioned before, T.Y. Hilton is in the flames. He's having a good season, good playoffs. He could be a league winner for fantasy guys that just picked him up off waivers. Mike Evans is in a really good spot this week. Terry McLaurin has let you down. He only busted 1 time this year leading into the fantasy playoffs almost. Like I think until week 9 he didn't bust you. That's just going off memory. But now with Dwayne Haskins, it makes it a little bit tough. But Terry McLaurin had a really good season all last year with Dwayne Haskins at quarterback. But he's not in a great matchup versus Seattle. Seattle's defense has been a lot better. Everyone's been shutting down McLaurin lately. Maybe we have figured out how to shut down Terry McLaurin. Again, I mentioned about Deontay Johnson getting benched. That lost me a matchup, but I still think that he's a very good wide receiver. So, to answer your question, you got to start 2. I would start T.Y. Hilton and Mike Evans. Those are the 2 I would start. If you're looking for a flex, I'm going to flex Deontay Johnson. I know Cole Beasley's been great. He's been leading us to a Scotty Fishbowl championship. We're in the playoffs against thousands of analysts and fans in the Scotty Fishbowl. It's a ton of fun, and Cole Beasley is one of the reasons we got that. But Jason, you have a lot of other really good options. That's who I would go with. That's what my ranks would say. Terry McLaurin's in a good spot this week, but he's more of a high risk play. But he's got upside. He's got a ton of upside. He's an elite wide receiver. It's just he doesn't have an elite quarterback throwing him the football. That's the only scenario there, Jason. So good luck, my dude. Wayne Gallman is a start over Gus Edwards, like I said. Neil, thanks for coming by, Neil. Pick 2. He's got Ayuk, Godwin, and Woods. Man, Ayuk has been awesome lately. I think he got 19 targets last week or something. He got so many targets. So between those guys, I would start Robert Woods and Brandon Ayuk. You know, I used to have Ayuk on one of my big keeper leagues, but I dropped him, and I feel terrible about it. I think it's Ayuk and Woods. Like I mentioned before, Neil, I think Godwin is in a really good spot this week. I think he has a chance to bounce back, but we haven't seen that from him lately. So it's hard to rely on a guy like Godwin when we're just projecting too much that he has a bounce back game. Because would we be surprised again if he gets 5 targets, 4 receptions for 73 yards? Not really. But But Brandon Ayuk, I think he gets in the end zone. He's going to get rushes. He's going to get targets. And Robert Woods is also in a really, really plus matchup against the New York Jets. So, yeah, that's where I lean. But, again, this is the fantasy playoffs. You got to go with your gut, people. Mike is in the chat. George is in the chat. New one. Thanks for coming by, guys. It's me, Kenny. Kenny, what up, Kenny? We're here. We're answering all your start-sit questions for this week. Alonzo's in the chat. Thanks for coming by, guys. Make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. It's a lofty goal. If we can get 1,000 subscribers by the Super Bowl, you guys are incredible. We'll be doing more and more videos all off season. If you're in Dynasty Leagues, we'll be doing rookie videos. We're going to be doing stuff to analyze the rookies coming in to make sure you have the Justin Jeffersons of the world next year. You've got Jonathan Taylors, J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers. Cam Akers might be a league winner. We want to make sure you get those guys on your team next year and stay away from the Keyshawn Vaughns of the world or the Henry Ruggs of the world. We want you to win with those rookies on your team next year. So we'll be doing that all off season. So Mike's asking, he's got T. Higgins, Gabriel Davis, Tony Pollard, or CeeDee Lamb. Pick one. My initial instinct says Gabriel Davis tonight. Gabriel has been good. He's been getting in the end zone the past 3 games. But CeeDee Lamb is the most talented of the bunch there. Tony Pollard is not really in the question for me. Even though Zeke is questionable, I still think Tony Pollard, I know we got in the end zone last week, but it could easily be a Zeke Elliott day. I'll get to Eric as well with his question. So yeah, I would go Gabriel Davis. Now it's tough tonight. It's if he does not get in the end zone, doesn't have a good game, it kind of puts you down for Sunday. So my second option is going to be CeeDee Lamb. I'm going to check my rankings here to make sure I've got those guys in order. CeeDee Lamb is my he's a top 40 wide receiver for me. Oh, so you know what? He's ahead of Gabriel Davis. So my rankings do say CeeDee Lamb, but I think Gabriel Davis is in a better spot. So do what you're going to do there. George is asking, he's got Cam Akers or Aaron Jones. Man, who would have thought we would be asking this question in week 15? George, I would still go Aaron Jones. I know it doesn't feel good because you got to ride the hot hand in Cam Akers. I think Cam Akers has an incredible game, but Aaron Jones versus Carolina, I think you got to go with Aaron Jones. If you could flex Cam Akers, that's what I would try to do, George. Cam Akers is probably ahead of a ton of wide receivers in my rankings, so try to throw Cam Akers in the flex. I don't care if you have Amari Cooper in the flex. I would still go Cam Akers over Amari Cooper. He's going to get a lot of work. New one is asking if I should start Drew Brees, and I think it's a fair question. He's coming back off injury. Reports are saying he's back to his old self, and he's in a possible shootout against Kansas City. But I'm still not going to start Drew Brees. Drew Brees is probably outside of my top 20 quarterbacks this week. Coming back, it's possible that he splits time with Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill was involved before Drew Brees got injured with like 11 broken ribs. So for him to come back this quick, I think it's going to be a little bit tough. Taysom will be mixed in there all over the place, I believe. So, I would start over Drew Brees. I would start Kirk Cousins against Minnesota or against Chicago. I would start Trubisky at Minnesota. I would start Big Ben, no question. Jalen Hurts. I would start Phillip Rivers over Drew Brees. So hopefully those guys answer your question. I still think you should hang on to Drew Brees for the championship matchup, but I want to see it first. So yeah, it's me, Kenny. I would start Big Ben over Drew Brees. And new one's also asking T.Y. Hilton or Cup. And I think that's a very good question as well because T.Y. Hilton is on fire. He's been great lately. I do have Cup higher in my rankings. He's in a really plus matchup against the New York Jets. The New York Jets are a bad defense, but they are better against the run. So it's possible that the LA Rams can just run through the air, and Cooper Kupp's going to be a beneficiary of that. I have Cooper Kupp in my top 12 wide receivers this week. That's what I would go with. New one. Thanks for coming by. Subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I'm going to get to every one of your questions. Thanks for coming in. Like the video, and good luck with your fantasy playoffs. If you have more specific questions, if I don't get to some of your stuff or don't go in more, if you want more our analysis, jump into our DMs. We're snap_fantasy. I'm on there all the time answering people's questions. Or if you have a question that you come up with, comment below on this video when it's published, and then I will also get to that question by tomorrow, and make sure you have a start sit question for the Sunday slate of games. This is a big weekend, guys. All right, we have Tony asking a tight end PPR. Trust in Fant or explore Kmet, Irv, Higbee off waivers. Noah Fant has been questionable all week with an illness, I believe. I don't want to start Noah Fant if I could help it. I do think that a guy like Cole Kmet's in a really good spot against Minnesota. I'm playing Cole Kmet in my DraftKings lineup, so you can check out my DraftKings video as well. It's not really getting a lot of love, but I know you guys will help me out. Give that a quick like and a quick view. Helps the channel out a lot. Technically, I still have Noah Fant ahead of my rankings, but they play tonight. Oh, man, that's a tough spot. It's a tough spot. I think I would maybe just stick with Noah Fant. But I do like the targets that Cole Kmet is getting. Trubisky isn't a guy I'm really love to rely on, and Jimmy Graham is available or around in the red zone still. So Cole Kmet's getting more targets, but he might be spelled for those red zone plays that are very valuable, obviously, in fantasy football. I would go with Jared Cook over Noah Fant, but I don't think I would go Cole Kmet over Noah Fant. I still believe in the talent. It just really hasn't been there for Fant. Higbee's in a great spot. Irv Smith's in a great spot. I think Irv is but these guys are flyers. These guys are flyers that if you need a miracle, Tony, then you could go with one of these waiver tight ends. But if you just need 4 targets, 50 yards, that's Noah Fant for you. Alonzo, he's got Amari, T. Higgins, Deontay Johnson, and Godwin. Should I be worried about my wide receivers? I'm looking for a championship. My RBs are fine with Kelsey. You've got Kelsey, and you've got good running backs. You're probably fine. You've got Amari and Deontay and Godwin are. If you would have asked me that in the offseason last year, I would have said that is a championship roster. And Travis Kelsey is the yards leader in the NFL against all the wide receivers. So you have an absolute cheat code at your tight end spot. I think you're in a good spot. I would go Amari, Godwin, and Deontay this week as my 3 wide receivers. If I were to order that, I would probably go Godwin, Amari, Deontay. Sit down T. Higgins, even though he's been great. But yeah, you're in a great spot, Alonzo. What are your options on Wilson next week against the Rams? Good question. Russell Wilson does have a really tough Week 16 matchup against the Rams. He hasn't been good lately. He's been throwing the ball over. There's going to be some decent quarterback options. Like I mentioned, Drew Brees, if he's available on the waiver wire, maybe look at Drew Brees. I haven't looked ahead to see his Week 16 matchup, honestly. But there's going to be lots of options. I can give me some matchups. I don't have a second to really look in Week 16 because we got to win right now first to get to Week 16. But it's a good idea to check ahead and maybe roster a guy with a plus 16 Week 16 matchup. But if we have time today, I'll jump on and look at those matchups and see what we can figure out. But thanks. It's me, Kenny. Got with the subscribe. Appreciate you. You guys are the best. New ones asking pick 2, Curtis Samuel, Antonio Brown, Corey Davis. I would go with Corey Davis and Curtis Samuel. Check on Curtis Samuel's health this week. If he's banged up and if he's kind of a game time decision, maybe I go with Antonio Brown in a plus matchup. If he's not a game time and he's active, if we find out he's active today, then I would just stick with Curtis Samuel. Thanks a lot for the love, guys. G Pen's in the chat. NYC Sicilian's in the chat. Thanks for coming by, guys. Eric, thanks. He's always a beauty. Jacob, thanks, guys. Savvy Twan's in the chat. Adrian, Ignacio's in the chat. Thanks a lot, guys. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 1,000 subs. I'm going to get to all of your questions today. Should be a lot of fun. We're got to get you ready for the championship semifinals. This is going to be a good one. We've got football today. It's great on Saturday. Actually, I did forget to get to Easy's question about Leonard Fournette. How likely is Shady or Keyshawn Vaughn going to play? I think they will all get mixed. Easy, you know, Leonard Fournette was a healthy scratch last week. I think it could be a rotation at the running back position. I'm not expecting Fournette to be the elite running back he was a couple years ago, so it could be that Keyshawn Vaughn gets his work in. Might be a little sneaky spot. Keyshawn Vaughn is a great buy in dynasty leagues. If you could probably get him as a throw-in right now. He's one of the big bust-out running backs this year for the rookies. G Pen, what's going on, G Pen? PPR flex. He's got T.Y. Hilton, Robert Tonyan playing a Rodgers. So I also have Devontae Adams. Thanks. Great question. Robert Tonyan's awesome. He's been a great tight end. I'd be curious to have who you have at tight end over Robert Tonyan. In the flex spot, I would still go T.Y. Hilton. Wide receivers have a ton of upside, more than a tight end. They get more targets, and T.Y. Hilton's been on fire. Tonyan is pretty high on my tight end ranks. He's number 5 right now. So I would start Kelsey and Andrews over Tonyan, but not too many others. Maybe Hawkinson, but we don't know if Stafford is healthy. So interesting play, but I would start T.Y. Hilton. NYC Sicilian, I haven't seen you here before. Thanks for coming by, man. I think you come by off Twitter. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. We answer all your questions. Get into our DMs. We'll answer those too. If you have off-season questions, send us a DM. Make a comment on a video. We will get to those as well. He's got a question. He's got Kareem Hunt or T.Y. Hilton, half PPR. He's got Big Ben or Hurts as well. Really good question. Between Kareem Hunt and T.Y. Hilton, I do think I would lean T.Y. Hilton. This has to break Scotty's heart. All the Hilton questions. He could be in the semifinals right now. He probably should have been in the semifinals. But T.Y. Hilton is a great play against Houston. Kareem Hunt, even though he had a really good game last week against Baltimore, it's very game script dependent, NYC. It's still going to be Nick Chubb as the lead running back. But if they're in a shootout, if Cleveland's in an absolute shootout this week, then it could be a Kareem Hunt show a little bit more. But let me see. I don't have Hunt anywhere. I don't really have any Browns anywhere. Oh, shoot. I'm in the wrong league. Available. Who do the Cleveland Browns play this week? They play the Giants. So Giants defense is good. I don't expect that to be an absolute shootout. I don't expect Baker Mayfield to have to pass it to Kareem Hunt in almost overtime in the fourth quarter like he did. So Kareem Hunt, what I'm getting to is he's very game script dependent. He's based on efficiency. The limited work he gets because Chubb is the lead back need to be big. They need to be 6-7 yard rushes. They need to be screen passes. So I do think that T.Y. Hilton is the safer play. And over between Big Ben and Jalen Hurts, I'm going to go with the safety again for Big Ben. So great question. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, NYC, if you like my analysis. And good luck in the quarterfinals. If you want to stop by and hang out, feel free. I'll be hanging out as long as I need to today. And happy holidays for everyone, and good luck in the semifinals. George, he's got Derrick Henry and Chubb. Yeah, Joe, you're right. He can't. Those are two great running backs, my dude. Eric's in here. Thank you, Eric, we're in the Scotty Fish Bowl. Thank you, my friend. He's always a true OG. Jacob is asking Tannehill or Big Ben. That's a really good question. between Tannehill and Big Ben, I think Big Ben's in a great spot. They can't run the football. But I lead Tannehill versus Detroit in that matchup. I don't know the weather. Is there weather concerns? So it's in Cincinnati. Not too bad for weather, I don't think. So I would lean Tannehill versus Detroit in that matchup. It's close, though. It's close because obviously Tennessee has a great running game, the best running game in the league, where the Pittsburgh Steelers don't have any run game. So we're expecting Big Ben to throw more, but I still think the matchup is good with Tannehill, and he's been doing really good lately. Eric's asking, I don't know if my league mate joined the chat, but I will ask for him. He confirmed he will start Josh Allen over Russell Wilson this week. Full PPR move. That is a smart move. That's what I would definitely do. Josh Allen is a better start than Russell. Savvy is asking, should I flex Melvin Gordon or Jeff Wilson? I would go Melvin Gordon tonight over Jeff Wilson. Like I said, we still don't know the status of Raheem Mostert. And I think Melvin Gordon is in a good matchup. It's going to be a cold game, so they could lean on the run. We're not expecting flurries or snow in that Buffalo-Denver game tonight, but we'll have to see. Make sure to stay tuned to that because the pass catchers for Buffalo, if it's snowing and bad out, are not going to be as good, but their running game is going to be just fine. So I prefer Melvin Gordon in that matchup. Adrian's asking, which two wide receivers should I start? Corey Davis, Allen Robinson, Robert Woods, or Terry McLaurin? I would start Allen Robinson and Robert Woods, Adrian. I know Corey Davis hasn't been great, but Allen Robinson is in a really, really good matchup against Minnesota. I think he's going to eat against Minnesota. Ignacio, please pick two. Just because you said please, I will definitely answer that question. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Allen Robinson, Woods, or Riley? Oh, that's tough. I would go Robinson and Ridley. I know Woods is in a great spot. He's been banged up this week a little bit. I still have confidence starting Woods, but Ridley's all by himself in a not a good matchup. But he's been that guy's been throwing, or no, he got a touchdown by a wide receiver last week. I still think Ridley's in a great spot. You have really good wide receivers there, Ignacio. So I would go Robinson and Ridley. Tough one, though. Tough one. It's tough between Ridley and Woods. Let me know in the comments which what your gut says, because really it's almost like you can't go wrong. But Robinson is an auto start for me. Between Woods and Ridley, it's very close. Thanks, NYC. Thanks for coming by. No name. This Saturday game is killing me. Down Gibson, Myles Gaskin, and Joe Mixon. Do I roll Zach Moss or Lynn running back 2? PPR, 2.2 points per carry. No name. That is a great question. Man, I've got Mixon as well. That guy's breaking my heart. Imagine my team. If my team was healthy, dang, it would be good. That's all right. Between Zach Moss or Lynn Bowden, I would go with Lynn Bowden. He's in a PPR league. I still think he will get... I'm not sure if Bowden's going to get any carries, but he's going to get a bunch of targets. I know it's a tough matchup against the New England Patriots, but Bowden, I think, had 9 targets this past week. I think he got a ride and stay in the flames, no name, with Lynn Bowden. Zach Moss, I don't think you can really start any running back for the Buffalo Bills. Singletary has looked better than Zach Moss, but Zach Moss is getting tons of work, especially in the red zone. So, and because neither of them have been overly efficient, we've seen Josh Allen take a lot of those goal line touches himself and run it in. So trusting Zach Moss in the semifinals is not something I'm willing to do, but I would, surprisingly, trust Lynn Bowden over that spot. But I know you're in a tough spot, man. I'm in the same I'm in a similar spot. Make sure to like the video. Thanks for coming by. I haven't seen your name before. Get it? Subscribe to the channel. We will answer all your start sit questions. You can comment on any video we have, and I will answer those questions. So if you have a tougher spot on Sunday and you can't make it to the live stream, just comment on any of our videos, and I will get to you, my dude. So good luck in the semis this week, guys. And hopefully Lynn Bowden comes through for you. Adrian, lastly, should I start Washington or Cleveland defense? I would go with Cleveland defense over Washington. I know Washington's been great, and they could get to Russell Wilson, but with Dwayne Haskins, it might not work out so well for Washington, or it might. But I think defenses are tough, but I would still go with Cleveland D. I'm going to check back to make sure I didn't miss any questions. You can ask it again if I did. New one, Blankenship or Young Ho Koo? Young Wei Koo, Young Ho. I always get that name mixed up. Koo's been awesome. Now, the big thing about kickers, guys, is you got to play him in a dome. If you play him in a dome, I mean, there's not too much. Otherwise, Blankenship plays Houston, and Young Ho Koo plays Tampa Bay. I think it's in Tampa, which is outside, but it's beautiful in Tampa. I would just play Rodrigo Blankenship. But, I mean, those are some of the two best kickers in the league. Gman, my tight end is Waller. Thanks for the advice. So, flex, I could go Hilton or Godwin. Yeah, I mean, I think you got to stay in the flames with Hilton. Like I said before, Gman, I have a really good feeling about Godwin this week for a bounce-back week. I think he's going to win people semifinals matchups, but I think you got to stay in the flames with T.Y. Hilton. Eric Macklin, thanks for coming by, Eric. Rodgers or Mahomes? Are you in like a two-team league? Two-person league? That's crazy. Rodgers or Mahomes? You got the two best quarterbacks in the league right now. I mean, if you look at my rankings, I've got Aaron Rodgers as the number one quarterback. But Patrick Mahomes is the number two quarterback. Like, he's playing New Orleans. I know it's a tough matchup, but Patrick Mahomes is matchup proof. Now with Drew Brees back, it could be more of a shootout, where the Carolina game, I think Carolina's going to have a hard time keeping up. So I don't think I could ever sit Patrick Mahomes. I'll never sit him. If I have him, I'll never sit him, even if I have Rodgers. So Eric, I would go with Patrick Mahomes. New one. Thanks for coming by. Eric, thanks for coming by off Twitter. You guys are coming in off Twitter. Thanks for coming by. Make sure to subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subs. We need to get monetized. We're grinding every single week, doing 2 live streams per week, answering every single question. We're a long way off from getting monetized, guys, but any help matters. If you want to play against us in fantasy, you have a chance to play against us. We do a listener league every year. It's a ton of fun. If you think you can beat us, if you love fantasy as much as us, you should try to get in. It's pretty easy. Subscribe to the channel. You'll get extra entries if you rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. But if you refer your friends to subscribe to the channel as well, you get more entries. So you get more entries if you refer friends. Send us a DM on socials who you refer to the channel, and you will have more chances to get in a draw to play against us. All right? Thanks for coming by off Twitter. Make sure to subscribe. Like I said, Owen Clayton, thanks for coming in. We got Eamon coming in. We got Kevin in the chat. Key Boy, DFS. Jacob still in the chat. We've got Ryan Fenton still in the chat. Thanks for coming by, guys. Make sure to like the video. Appreciate all of you. We're not like the big guys. I answer every single question. Owen's asking, Hunt, Mostert, DJ Moore, PPR. I would lean Hunt and then DJ Moore. DJ Moore's coming off an injury. He's been great. If you're down in the matchup, I do think DJ Moore has a ton of upside. They play the Green Bay Packers, not the best matchup. He could get blanketed by a very good cornerback in Green Bay. So I would go with Hunt, Owen. I would go Hunt in that option. I'm not considering Mostert. He's been hurt, banged up. He's probably going to get limited work. So I'm getting rid of Hunt or Mostert out of that option, and I'm going with Kareem Hunt. Eamon, he's got Russell Wilson or Tannehill. That's a really good question. That's an excellent question because Tannehill has been good. He's got a better matchup, but I still lean with Russell Wilson. His ceiling isn't super high, but if Tannehill comes in that game script and then it's just a Derrick Henry run show, that also limits Tannehill's upside. So I would go with Russell in that matchup, even against the stout Washington defense. Tony has a tight end non-PPR, Evan Ingram or Goddard, Logan Thomas and Komet off waivers. I talked about Kmet, how I like him this week against the Vikings. But I would go with, man, Ingram's been hurt. He's kind of a questionable tag. Jeez, that's a tough one. I think I go with Goddard. I don't love it. But I think I go with Goddard versus Arizona. Man, that's a tough one. Logan Thomas has been great. If Alex Smith was still at quarterback, Tony, I would go with Logan Thomas, no question. But now with Dwayne Haskins, do you remember earlier this offseason, we loved Logan Thomas coming into the season. Like, when is it going to happen? He's got the snaps, he's got the targets, he's got everything. But it was Dwayne Haskins. And Logan Thomas has now broken out as an every week start with Alex Smith. So I'm not sure if it's going to revert to that. We have to project too much to start Logan Thomas ahead of those other guys. If you do find out that Evan Ingram is fully healthy and ready to rock, then, Tony, I would lean Evan Ingram, but it's a higher risk play there. So, tough one, though. Tight end is, like I mentioned, guys, I always mention it, tight end is an absolute crapshoot. You never know what happens. It's based on touchdowns. If they don't get a touchdown, every tight end is the same. They get 3 receptions for 37 yards or something, and that's their line at the end. But 3 receptions, 41 yards, or 4 receptions, 41 yards, and a touchdown. That is a tight end 1. That's a top 5 tight end. So you guys know what's up. Kevin here is in the chat. PPR league, start 5. Whew. I got to take a glass of water here, or drink a coffee before I answer this one. Kevin, start Dobbins, start Taylor, start Kamara. Those 3 running backs are must starts. Between Woods, Amari, Calvin Ridley. So he had Carr, so he's behind the 8 ball. I feel you. Kevin, I had Carr in our listener league, 2 quarterback, super flex league, and now I'm behind as well. So I'm starting those 3 running backs. Out of those wide receivers, my first instinct leads Calvin Ridley. I know it's a tough matchup against Tampa Bay, and they could blanket him, but I still lean Calvin Ridley. He's my top-ranked wide receiver. But you have some good options as well. My next would be Robert Woods and then Amari Cooper. So Calvin Ridley could break a slate, but I think he's going to be more of a floor play. He's going to get those targets, but they could limit the deep ball versus Calvin. Woods also has a floor, but he's been banged up. So my upside play out of all those guys is going to be Amari. So my ranked wide receiver is going to be Ridley. But with your stance, my upside play is going to be Amari. So tough one. Really good question to Kevin, but start your running backs because I think that Kamara is going to be awesome with Drew Brees back. So is Jonathan Taylor, and so is J.K. Dobbins. So start those running backs. New England D or Chicago D? Oh, dude, man. New England versus the Dolphins or Chicago versus the Vikings? I would go with New England D. Bill Belichick is great versus rookies. He's the best coach of all time, probably period, but he's even better when he's playing rookie quarterbacks. Keyboy DFS. What's going on, Keyboy? I'd be interested to know, especially if you have DFS in your name, Daily Fantasy Sports, if you like my DraftKings video. Keyboy, so if you're still in the chat, let me know if you like my DraftKings video. I could always use some constructive criticism and how my plays are this week, so let me know if you like it. It's a tournament play, by the way. Diggs or Woods. Diggs plays tonight. I don't know how you could sit Stephon Diggs. You got to go with Stephon Diggs. Even if the weather is cold, I still go Diggs over Woods. Great question, Keyboy DFS. Thanks for coming by, everyone. If you're coming by off Twitter, if you're new in the chat, we have 19 people liking. I'll answer 19 people watching, 25 likes. We're trying to get to 1,000 subs. So if you're new to the channel, if you're here for the first time and like our content, make sure to subscribe and like the video. It means a ton. We're trying to do a sub drive to get in our listener league. So if you have friends that also might still like fantasy football. If they're out of the playoffs and like DFS, get them to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you tell us who you referred, and you will get entered into the draw to get play in our listener league. The more people you refer, the more chances you have to win. All right, guys. So Jacob, for the flex, he's got David Montgomery, T.Y. Hilton, Juju, or Amari Cooper. You got to go with David Montgomery. He's been on fire. You've got really good options there. You got T.Y., Juju, Amari. Those are all awesome plays. Jacob, that's a tough choice, but Montgomery's been on fire more than what T.Y. Hilton has. He's a running back, so he has a safer floor, and he's got a good ceiling because they play the Minnesota Vikings. So that's where I would go. Next, out of that option, I think you go T.Y., then Juju, then Amari. So if for some reason you want to go away from David Montgomery in a PPR league, I think that's where you go with the wide receiver. Ryan Fenton's in the chat. Thanks for coming by, Ryan. Who do I start the flex? Wayne Gallman or Juju? So those projections are a little bit, suspect. I get it. I know those whatever league you're playing in changes their projections all the time, and it's hard to trust the projections. But generally, rule of thumb is that the running back is the safer play. The running back is going to get the yards, but because Jacob is in a because Ryan is in a full PPR league, I would lean with the wide receiver. Juju is in a really good spot versus Cincinnati. If Deontay Johnson gets benched again, that makes the ceiling for Juju even higher. I think he has a good bounce back week. I've got Juju in my top 24 wide receivers, and I've got Gallman as a top 20 running back, but I still think the upside for Juju is more. But the floor play, like I mentioned, Ryan, is always in the running back. So I benched Wayne Gallman for Kenyon Drake in a league because we got the news about Devonta Freeman coming back. It could eat into his workload a little bit. I'll give you that for context. Kevin is asking again, he's got Goddard or Jared Cook, and that time I would go with Jared Cook with Drew Brees back. G-Pen, he's got Russell Wilson or Jared Goff. Oh man, I think I go Jared Goff, G-Pen, over Russell Wilson this week. Jared Goff's in a much better matchup. You just hope that Cam Akers doesn't take all the touchdowns again. Hopefully he gets some passing touchdowns. New one is asking Ebron or Goddard. I would actually lean with Eric Ebron there. Amen. Unless they're Travis Kelce. Yeah, unless they're Travis Kelce. That's correct. AJ Bruno is asking a good question. He's got Higgins on the Browns. Higgins on the Browns, or Lynn Bowden Jr. or Devontae Parker. I'm going to sit Devontae Parker this week. And versus Bowden or Higgins. That's a tough one here. I would go. So I think right away my gut says Lynn Bowden, but my rankings say T. Higgins. So it's close, but the better matchup for the Browns playing the New York Giants, I would go with Rashad Higgins over Lynn Bowden. He's been playing good lately. He's the number 2 wide receiver for the Browns. AJ Bruno, so that's where I would go with that one. Matt, welcome to the chat, Matt. I'm pretty much all caught up to the chat. We got Prince in here as well. Bingo is in the chat as well. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're trying to get to 1,000 subs. I will give you a shout out. NY Sicilian is a new subscriber. Shout out NYC Sicilian. I'm going to shout you out if you give me a new subscription to the channel. I've got it up on right beside me. So make sure to like and subscribe, and I will give you a shout out on the channel for being a new subscriber because we appreciate you. Matt is asking, should I play Miami starting running back or Jeff Wilson half PPR? So we're not really sure who it is, if it's going to be Ahmed or Washington. But Jeff Wilson is good no matter what, and I don't think Mostert plays this game. So I'm leaning Jeff Wilson over the starting running back in Miami. It's a tougher matchup for the Miami Dolphins, and that whoever it is back there, whether it's Ahmed or Washington, I'm not sure how to say his name. So I would go Jeff Wilson Jr. I know it's not a great play. The floor play I still is Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson isn't a locked and loaded start for me because I do think that the other guys will get mixed in as well. It could be Coleman, it could be McKinnon, but I still think Jeff Wilson gets the high value carries in the red zone. So I'd go Jeff Wilson. Thanks for coming by. Make sure to hit that sub button. You guys know the drill. I'm watching to see if anyone's liking or subscribing to our channel. Carson or Drake, please. Bingo pajamas. Bingo pajamas. Carson or Drake. I think they're both in pretty good spots out of that one. Right away, my gut says Carson, even in a pretty tough matchup. Even in a tough matchup against Washington, I think I lean Carson. They both have tough matchups. They're pretty much back-to-back in my ranks, but I lean Carson because I lean Carson. But man, Kenyon Drake, even against Philadelphia, because I think Chase Edmonds is hurt and not going to play, and Carlos Hyde is in. All right, I'm switching it. Pajamas, I'm switching it. Go Kenyon Drake, but not a lot of confidence. Both those guys are really close, so I lean Kenyon Drake. Watching to see if new subscribers come in. I will shout you out on the channel if you're a new subscriber. Prince is asking, I need a dart throw wide receiver 3 upside. I like that. Tim Patrick, Traquan, or MVS. Leaning Tim Patrick. He's been playing consistent lately, but they, should have to throw. I would also lean Tim Patrick. Traquan with upside with Michael Thomas out is really good too. And MVS is the ultimate dart throw. But I also lean Tim Patrick. I'll get to your other question. It's one of two or half PPR. Dart throw wide receiver 3 upside. You got to go Tim Patrick. Make sure to start him in your wide receiver spot because they play tonight. If the weather turns bad, keep an eye on that. Because I guess the weather in Green Bay could also turn bad. So those two options have weather concerns. The cold, the wind, the snow, Prince. So tonight we'll know. But if it turns like the weather turns up to like 15 kilometer-hour winds or mile-an-hour winds, then I would lean and pivot to MVS. So keep up to date. I'll try to tweet it out. Follow me at snap_fantasy or Lando_FF is my personal account. Prince, I would go Tim Patrick. Jeez, that's a tough one. I'm in a very similar spot. I'm starting Emmanuel Sanders this week in a tough spot here. JP, what up, JP? I know you're a subscriber of the channel. I don't need to ask. Do I start QB Drew Brees, Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts, or Phillip Rivers, or another streaming quarterback half PPR? I'm not going to go with Drew Brees, number one, because I do think that Taysom Hill is going to get involved a little bit, and it's not going to be a super locked and loaded play of Drew Brees. So out of your other options, let me just skip back here. We have Phillip Rivers or Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield. I pivoted off of Herbert to start Baker Mayfield today or yesterday or on Thursday because I didn't have confidence in Herbert with a limited Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. He proved me wrong, obviously. So out of those options, my dude, I would actually start Phillip Rivers versus Houston. You hate to say it because I don't have a ton of confidence in Rivers generally, but both teams should have to throw a lot. The Colts defense hasn't really been as good lately in Indianapolis. I'm hoping for a big Jonathan Taylor game, so hopefully it's not just a run show. If you need pure upside, I think Jalen Hurts provides that for you. And Mayfield is in a good spot against the Giants, but the Giants defense is pretty good. So I would go with Rivers number 1, Jalen Hurts number 2, and that's what I would do, JP. But at the end of the day, you got to go with your gut. If you have a really good feeling about Drew Brees, that he's back 100%. If this was Drew Brees' second game back from this injury, we would probably have Drew Brees number 1. But to limit the risk in Drew Brees, that's where I'm going to pivot off of him. So if you got to go for the gusto, go for the gusto. JP, you could go with Drew Brees, but that's it. That's what's going on. We got lots of people coming in. Thanks for coming by. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. If you're new and haven't come here, make sure to hit that sub button. Make sure to like the video. It means a ton. It's like currency for us. So I'm not charging anything for my answers. I just want a subscription. That's it. New one, Cup or Robinson. I would go Robinson. New one. I would go Robinson on that option. I'm gonna turn my video is a little bit choppy. I'm gonna turn off my Wi-Fi and turn Wi-Fi off, and maybe it's better. Hope they don't get cut off here. PPR, 2 wide receivers, Russell Gage or Gabe Davis. I would go Gabe Davis here. Go a Canes. I would go Gabe Davis tonight. Check the weather, though. Check the weather in that game. If it's not great tonight, if there's high winds or snow, then you go Russell Gage with Julio out. Maybe Russell Gage throws another touchdown. You never know. Amen. Tannehill or Goff? I would go Jared Goff over Tannehill this week. Xander, thanks for coming in, Xander. I haven't seen your name here before. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. He's got DJ Moore, Corey Davis, Hilton, McLaurin, play 2. No PPR. He's thinking McLaurin and Hilton, and I agree with you. I'm thinking McLaurin and Hilton as well. McLaurin is a high-risk play because he hasn't been good lately, but he could see a bounce-back game. He had a good season last year with Dwayne Haskins. I think he could have a good game as well with Haskins back at the helm. Penny might be back. Thanks. Hey, Derek, what's going on? Should I pick up the Browns D? I've got the Bucks right now. No, I would keep the Bucks D in there. JP also start Terry McLaurin, Godwin, or DeAndre Swift, half PPR. Oh, man. I might lean the running back DeAndre Swift. Next would probably be Godwin, and next would be Terry McLaurin. But starting DeAndre Swift without the possibility of Matt Stafford does have you a little bit more risk. So if you want to get out of the risk, I would go with Godwin. Derek, what's up? Kale's in here. Steve is in here. Clayton is in here. Thanks for coming by, guys. I'm going to get to your question. Heisenberger is in here. Thanks, guys. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 1,000 subs. I will get to your questions. I'll give you analysis. I'm just going to sip a little bit of coffee right now. It's almost noon. That hour flew by. And if there's still questions, I'm willing to stay as long as we need to. Otherwise, we'll stick around until 12:30 or whatever we feel like doing. Xander, should I be scared to start Josh Allen with the weather today? I'm not scared to start Josh Allen. He could be running more often, which is great for a quarterback. I'm going to look at the weather right now. It is in Denver, I believe. Denver weather forecast. So right now it is 7 degrees, or if you go Fahrenheit, it's 45 degrees. There's a 0% chance of precipitation and with 11 miles an hour wind. If I go further up here to 7 p.m., it goes down, but there's still no snow. So I'm not too concerned. The 10 mile an hour winds does not concern me much. It could impact the deep ball a little bit of Josh Allen, but that's not that wind isn't something I'm too concerned about. So, Xander, I would not be scared to start Josh Allen tonight. I think he's in a really good spot. Heisenberger, he's got Akers, Carson, Kupp, PPR. Pick 2, I've got Aaron Jones, Diggs, Tyreek starting. Going for the ship. We're going for the ship, Heisenberger. Love it. If I'm only starting one, I'm going to start Cam Akers. Cam Akers in a good spot. Your second option, I would go with Cooper Kupp in a PPR league, and then Carson. I think Cam Akers is in a really good spot. I think he's going to get a massive amount of workload. Your starters are studs. You've got Jones, Diggs, Tyreek. So I still think Akers has a really safe floor. He had almost 30 carries last game, 80% snap share. You're going for floor, you go with Akers. I'm playing against Akers potentially. He has to start Kamara or Akers, and he didn't start Akers over Austin Eckler this past game, and I was hoping he would start Eckler because I'm scared to face Akers in any semifinals. I think he's going to have a massive, massive game. So Heisenberger, thanks for coming by. Make sure to sub to the channel. I'm going to give you guys a special shout out if you're subbing to the channel. Drew's in the chat. What's going on, Drew? Justin's in the chat. Thanks. Kale's coming in. Thanks, guys. Stevie, I already talked about Stevie. JP, you're very welcome for the detailed answer instead of just a one-word answer. I try to give you an in-depth look of why I would do it. I can't always give you the right answers, but I'll give you why I gave you that answer. That's kind of why we are so successful here. Thanks for the 32 likes. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're still a ways away, but we're trying to grind. We're trying to push. Scotty, what's our number at right now for subscribers? Clayton is... We've gotten 15 subscribers today. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for subscribing. Heisenberger just subbed. Thank you. He's got Waller. What a stud. This guy knows his stuff about fantasy football. Hey, if you want a chance to beat us in fantasy, subscribe to the channel, but also refer your friends and send us a DM on Instagram. This is your chance to play against us. We have 3 fantasy analysts here, and if you think you can beat us, make sure to refer them in a draw. Clayton. He's got Robbie Anderson, Cole Beasley, Raheem Mostert, or Leonard Fournette. The flex, I would go with Robbie Anderson. Or Cole. Man, it's between Robbie Anderson and Cole Beasley. I think I lean the Beasles tonight. I know it's a cold game, but so is the Robbie Anderson play. They're both weather games. So I would lean with Cole Beasley tonight in a full PPR flex. Steve is asking DJ Moore or Landry PPR. I would go with Landry. I think Landry plays in a dome, so that's better for Landry than it would be for DJ Moore. I'd have to vet that to be 100% certain, but DJ Moore's been sick or hurt or he had COVID. So with that question mark beside DJ Moore, I would go Landry. JP, I think I'm going to start Rivers or maybe Hurts. He only had 1 TD last week. Still pump up 19 points. Also 100 yards rushing. That's why you go with a guy like Hurts. That's why, because he has the rushing capability. Kale's asking Salvin Ahmed? Question mark. Give me some more details there, Kale. On that, I'm not too sure what you mean. If it does turn out that he's the starter in Miami, I would consider starting him. Justin, Zeke or Hunt at the flex? Tough one. Zeke has not been good. He's lost people championships. He hasn't won people championships. If you had Zeke and started him, you might be out of the playoffs. But if you're not, and you're wondering between Zeke or Hunt, I would actually go with Kareem Hunt this week, especially if you're in a half PPR, full PPR league. Hunt gets more receptions. So Hunt is a little bit more game script, where Zeke, you would hope that to think that he's not game script proof. I think Zeke gets more carries, but Hunt has the ceiling play. I've got him higher ranked. New one, pick 2, T.Y. Hilton, Jefferson, or Cup. I would actually go with Jefferson and Cup over T.Y. Hilton, but it's close. T.Y. Hilton's been great. Lots of T.Y. Hilton questions. Drew's in the chat. Drew Hawkins, thanks for coming by, Drew. Appreciate you. New subscriber, shout out Heisenberger. Thank you so much. He's got full PPR, pick 2, Aaron Jones, Cam Akers, AJ Brown, Miles Sanders, one running back for the flex. So I would go with Aaron Jones, Cam Akers, and AJ Brown. I would sit down Miles Sanders in that scenario. He's in a full PPR, so that gives the bump to AJ Brown. AJ Brown's a stud. He could take any reception to the house. Miles Sanders had a really good game last game, and you might be in the championship by not starting Miles Sanders based on the players you have. Or is between Akers and Miles Sanders, and both were awesome. Drew. So I would go with those guys. Miles Sanders, I don't have the utmost confidence that he's going to have the same kind of game he had last week. I mean, we've seen it's hard to trust a guy like Miles Sanders. We know the talent is there, but Philadelphia, just you shake your head sometimes at how they use him. So, Drew, thanks for coming by. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I will give you a shout out, Drew. And yeah, that's it. Prince is asking again, I need to start 2 out of the 3. He's got David Johnson, CEH, Nyheim Hines. Oh, man, David Johnson back off an injury. So the number 1 is going to be CEH. And then I think the number 2 between Nyheim Hines and David Johnson. Man, that's tough. If you're in a PPR league, I think Nyheim Hines is going to be okay. But I think the volume will be for David Johnson coming back from injury. Close one. Coming back from an injury is really, really tough. Really tough coming back from an injury. So if you're concerned, I just go Nyheim Hines. I think he's still going to be involved in a good matchup, obviously, in that same game against Houston. Thanks, dude. Kevo, what's going on, Kevo? Thanks for coming by. My flex is so tough. Shake my head. Need 2. Full PPR. Curtis Samuel, Claypool, Gage, Rager, QT, Pittman, Emmanuel Sanders, Tanyan, or AB. Please, bro, I got you. Make sure to hit that sub button, Kevo. You've got a really tough choice because you have so many good players. Curtis Samuel's banged up, and if I knew for sure he was going to play, I think Curtis Samuel is a really good play. But now DJ Moore is back. Curtis Samuel is a guy that takes a lot of the carries away from Mike Davis with Christian McCaffrey out, so he gets used all over the field. But since he's hurt, he could be limited. So I'm just going to take Curtis Samuel out of that option. Emmanuel Sanders is in a much better spot with Michael Thomas out and Drew Brees in. So I think Emmanuel Sanders is the sneakiest play out of those. But he needs 2 in a full PPR. I think you got to go with Claypool, even though he hasn't been good lately. He hasn't been that same league winner we thought he was earlier in the season. I think that Claypool is in there, locked and loaded. So Claypool is in, and then between those guys, oh man, Rager is a big playability, but in a full PPR league, he doesn't have a higher ceiling. QT has been good against the Colts, but he's just not a very trustworthy wide receiver. And plus, Brandon Cooks might be back for this game. It's still up in the air whether he's back or not. Pittman, I love the talent of Pittman, but it's been the T.Y. Hilton show lately. AB is a great start at tight end. He's a top 3 tight end for me. So it's actually going to be between Sanders and Tanyan and AB. Sanders, Tanyan, and AB. So if I put in my ranks here, if I go what I'm projecting Tanyan and Sanders to be, it's probably going to be, oh man, between Sanders and AB. Oh man. I don't want to trust Antonio Brown there, man, but he's in a good matchup. He generally gets a lot of targets. Oh, geez, that's a tough one. You are in a really tough spot. Between Tanyan and Sanders, I lean Sanders slightly for that play. I don't have a ton of confidence in that, Kevo. I don't have a ton of confidence, but that's what I would do. Tanyan's a great play, but it's a cold weather game. It's not one that you're going to sit Devontae Adams or really Aaron Rodgers for, but I still think that you play. Oh, geez. You're killing me. I'm tilting off your matchup, off your start set, dude. Hopefully you like my analysis. Hopefully I didn't make it any harder for you. AB has a decent floor. Sanders has a low floor. Sanders is not a safe play by any means. So I'll go Claypool, Tanyan, and then if you're scared off the weather, you go Sanders, then AB. That's what I would do. Kevo, good luck, my dude. Let us know how you do in your matchup. Hopefully you make it to the championship. Looks like how good your team is. You probably have some locked and loaded starters already. But get us, if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Send us a DM on social, snap_fantasy. And good luck, my dude. Good luck. All right. Who else do we have in the chat here? Jeremy's in here. He's got Bucks or Seahawks D. Both are good. I really like the Seahawks D this week against Dwayne Haskins, but I think Bucks are in a lightly better spot. So I would just stick with the Bucks. They have a better defense than the Seahawks. Tony, yeah, drop. I would definitely drop Aguilar and pick someone else. No, I would, man, if the platform lets you do it, drop Aguilar because he had a dud, and you might even be out of it. So maybe you have a keeper league. You got to go by the rules, man. Go by the rules. Drop Aguilar and pick up a guy that hasn't played yet. That's a great way to play fantasy football. Jeremy, I already answered that. I would stick with the Bucs, even though I do like the Seahawks. Kale's in the chat. If Salvin Ahmed starts, do I start him? He's got Lynn Bowden or Gus Edwards. I would go. So you've got Lynn Bowden in the same matchup. I would start Ahmed if he starts in that matchup. It's close. If you're in a PPR league, Lynn Bowden is a little bit better getting those targets. But like I mentioned always, that the running back is safer. The running back is always safer because he's got carries and no wide receiver has guaranteed targets. Xander already subbed. Thank you, Xander. Matt is asking, does Devonta Freeman have a legit fantasy potential the last 2 weeks? Matt, I don't believe so. I don't believe that Devonta Freeman has a legit chance. I think if anything, he has a 30% snap share for the New York Giants, and it's going to be still the Gallman with a 55% snap share. I'm not too thrilled about Devonta Freeman, but I wasn't thrilled about him when they signed him, to be honest. Sebastian is in the chat. Should I fade Zeke for Gus Edwards? I wouldn't go that far, Sebastian. I'm not going to fade Zeke that much. I know he's been disappointed, but I would still start Zeke over Gus this week. I really like J.K. Dobbins. I would play Dobbins over Zeke, no question, but not Gus Edwards. I know Gus is getting those touchdowns, but it ain't enough for me to fade Zeke for that. Thomas is new in the chat. Thanks, Thomas, for coming by. He's got the SB final for me. Flex Hunt, David Montgomery, or Davis. I would go David Montgomery, Thomas. No question. Make sure to sub to the channel. You're a real one. Appreciate you. Yeah, but you got to go David Montgomery in the flex spot. New one, Corey Davis or J.D. McKissick on flex. I would go Corey Davis. Who's got the tilt question of the week award? Josh Allen or Kyler today? I would go with Josh Allen over Kyler. Kevo, yeah, that was when I was tilting. Yeah, exactly. I was definitely tilting Kevo. Thanks for stopping by. Smash the sub button. Baker Harrington is asking, Lynn Bowden or Tyler Boyd? Lynn Bowden or Tyler Boyd? I would go Tyler Boyd probably in that matchup. It's not great against Pittsburgh. Lynn Bowden doesn't have a great matchup either. We've seen Tyler Boyd be good all season, even with a backup quarterback, taking stuff to the house. Lynn Bowden, we've seen 1 week of 9 targets, which is a lot, but I would still go with Tyler Boyd over Lynn Bowden. Thanks for coming by, guys. I'm all caught up. We have 16 people watching. Make sure to hit that sub button. Wow, man, is in the chat. J.D. McKissick or DJ Moore at the flex. My bad if I already addressed it. No, man. Thanks for coming by. We're in the chat. You coming by off of Twitter. Scotty's there grinding on Twitter for us, trying to get some new subscribers. We're trying to get to 1,000 subs. We're still a ways off. We've had 20 people liking. I'll give you a shout out on the live channel if you subscribe right now. I'll be watching right here. And if I missed you, let me know. If I missed you, if you subbed and I missed you, let me know and I'll give you a sub or a shout out. I would go with DJ Moore at the flex over JD McKissick. Alex Smith. Whoa, man. Wow, man. Alex Smith was a great check down quarterback. But he's not playing today. It's going to be Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins takes more risks. He's throwing down deep down the field. It could be a tough game against the Seahawks. If you have Jamal Adams, right? Jamal Adams at the safety, man, if you're playing in a defense league where you start the IDP players, man, he's going to be all over the interceptions and all over Dwayne Haskins. So I know DJ Moore's been banged up and hurt this week, but I think he's back off of that COVID IR list. Oh, new subscriber. Wow, man, new subscriber to the show. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for subscribing. I would go DJ Moore this week over JD McKissic because of the fact that Dwayne Haskins just doesn't check down as much. I think Peyton Barber is going to be involved running the football. It's a tough matchup, so I think that I would go with DJ Moore. He's a great wide receiver. We love the talent, but he just hasn't really done it for us that much this year. Still go DJ Moore, though. Hey, thanks for coming by. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. Really appreciate that. You have no idea how much that helps support the channel. We're going live again tomorrow for all your start sit questions. So if you have more questions or just want to come by and hang out, by all means, just come by, answer some questions, talk in the chat. Thank you so much. I'm going to talk in the chat. Thank you guys for coming by. AO Will, Claypool, Mike Evans, McLaurin pick 2. I would go Mike Evans and McLaurin in that matchup. I do like Claypool. This week a little bit, but he hasn't really given you that big boom play. If you want to go safety because it's going to be Dwayne Haskins at quarterback, you go Claypool and Evans. AO Will. For safety and upside, I guess safety and upside, I would go Claypool and Mike Evans. I never thought I would tell you to bench Terry McLaurin for Chase Claypool going into the season, but here we are. Terry McLaurin's a high boom bust player. He hasn't done much for you lately. So that's the only reason why I would potentially go with Claypool. So Chris is in the chat. What's going on, Chris? Thanks for coming by. It looks like you got a really good lineup here. Thanks, and thank you for the love. Love the page. You're probably a subscriber already. If you're not, I'll give you a quick special shout out if you subscribe to the channel. He's got star 3, bench 1. J-Rob, James Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, and Chris Carson. Oh, that's a good running back lineup. I would actually bench. Oh, geez. I did these rankings, and I think I had Chris Carson up there. I would actually bench DeAndre Swift out of those guys. Jonathan Taylor's a must start. James Robinson is a great play, must start player, even in a tough matchup versus Baltimore. And DeAndre Swift, although he's in a decent spot, Adrian Peterson is still involved a little bit. They're without Matt Stafford most likely. So it just means his ceiling, and everyone for the Detroit Lions ceiling is lower because they could turn the ball over. They're not going to get the time of possession like they normally would with Stafford at quarterback, where Chris Carson, even in a tough matchup versus Washington because their defense is so good, Chris Carson is still going to get those carries, still going to get that work. They've been running the football more, and Chris Carson looks good. So out of those ones, my dude, Chris, I would bench DeAndre Swift. I hate to say it because I love Swift and his upside, but if you're in a full PPR league, Swift gets more targets. I think his lowest targets of the season is 6. So if you're in a full PPR league, it changes a little bit. But right now, I would sit DeAndre Swift. Thanks for coming by, guys. We love it that you come by. We have 35 likes on a Saturday morning. We appreciate. And we've hit 850 subs. We hit 850 subs. Thank you so much for subscribing, everyone. This was a great time. We got 21 subs today. You guys are awesome. Alonzo, right before I go, was asking, one of my leagues has the final on week 17. Can I quickly explain why this isn't ideal? Alonzo, so, all right, share this to your friends in that league chat. I don't know what our mark is right now and what the time stamp is, but week 17, it's a tough week. We have a ton of teams that bench their starters in week 17. A week 17 fantasy football championship should not be decided on week 17. Week 16, most of the starters are still in. Like, the Saints are 10-3 right now. They could win out and bench Alvin Kamara. Michael Thomas could not play. The Packers play the Bears in week 17. And a guy like Devontae Adams might be sitting. Devontae Adams, has been a league winner that you drafted in the first round. They could sit Devontae Adams. The Ravens play the Bengals. There's no need for them to play Lamar Jackson. Maybe there is. Maybe there isn't. We don't know. These matchups, guys, should not be, and the Chiefs too. The Chiefs, like Travis Kelce could sit. Patrick Mahomes could sit. Everyone could sit for the Chiefs because they've locked up a number 1 seed. They don't care about a week 17 in their real NFL season. So why would they make their starters? If they're not going to be an undefeated season, if they're not going for any special MVP type seasons, there's no point in real NFL teams to play their starters. So for you to rely on a fantasy championship, something you grinded out for 16 weeks, 17 weeks off season, you're doing research, for you to have to pick up a backup wide receiver, you have to start Alan Lazard, you have to start Marcus Valdes-Scantling, you have to start Jamal Williams, or the backup quarterback for the Chiefs, or McCole Hardman, or Demarcus Robinson. You're relying on those guys for a Week 17 championship. There's no reason why you should do that. You need to end your season in week 16, and you can play DFS in Week 17. And in DFS, you can play with the teams that actually need to win, the teams that actually need to get and sneak in the playoffs. Those are the players you play, but you don't need to have them rostered. It shouldn't be lucky that you drafted fringe playoff teams on your fantasy squad to be able to win a championship. So Week 17 is a terrible championship to have, and you should not have it in week 17. Hopefully that explains it enough to have a reason why that should not happen, because you can't win. You shouldn't have to win a championship off of backups, plain and simple. Even the backups could be sat down. So like even the guy you think a running back is the backup, the other guy could go in. A guy from the practice squad could come in for next year, and that's the first time you'd heard his name before. So it's just silly to have a Week 17 championship. Chris, you're welcome. TS, sit 1. He's got Deontay, Godwin, and Cam Akers. I would actually probably sit Deontay out of those ones just because there's a risk he could get sat himself. So last week he was sat for 2 quarters and he cost me a quarterfinals matchup. Godwin's not going to get sat, and Cam Akers is in a smash spot against the Jets. You got to go with Cam Akers. So between Godwin and Deontay, they both haven't been great lately. So just go with Godwin. Tony, thanks. You're welcome for the advice, and let's get some championships. It's almost 12:30. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the channel and the live stream today. Thank you for coming in. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Alonzo, you're welcome for that explanation. And yeah, we're good to go. Thank you for coming by, guys. Good luck on your fantasy championships. Come by tomorrow for another live stream. We'll be answering. I'm on for 2 hours. Oh, Aman has another question. Before I go, I'll get to you. Deshaun Watson versus Indy, or Baker versus the Giants. And then he's got J.K. Dobbins versus Jacksonville, or Gallman versus Cleveland. Your running backs, I go with J.K. Dobbins versus Jacksonville, no question. And for your quarterbacks, it's tough to sit Deshaun Watson versus Indy. I have Deshaun Watson higher in my rankings because of the pure talent. I know Baker Mayfield's been good lately, and I'm going to start him in a couple matchups, but I don't have Deshaun Watson in those. So I would start Deshaun Watson because he's a baller, and I would start J.K. Dobbins because he's an explosive running back. Make sure to... Kicks my game. You missed the stream. We'll still be on tomorrow for 2 hours, starting at 11 a.m. up until game time, till kickoff. EST, that's Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for 2 hours before kickoff to answer all your start-sit questions. Kicks my game. Like the channel. I know you already subscribed. Like the video. You're very welcome, my dude. Make sure to subscribe if you're a new subscriber. We appreciate you. We're here grinding for everyone. Come by again tomorrow for 2 hours, and we appreciate you. Thanks, guys. We will see you next week. Like, subscribe, follow us on socials. Thanks.